Welcome all, good evening, and a very warm welcome to all of you to this beautiful and safe space for ELSA's, our ELSA Connect. This is an initiative started by ELSA Bangalore at the beginning of the lockdown to give all of us a way to stay connected. So, what started as one ELSA 60-day challenge has now become a mainstay with us all, a safe and secure space that's full of warmth where we can all learn, share, grow, and keep this beautiful sisterhood growing and going from strength to strength. So, welcome, and I hand it over to Champa.
Hello, all. Good to be with all of you. As I was saying a few minutes back, this very English Irish evening with the rains and the clouds everywhere. It's all gray outside. But when we are with a bunch of us together, it's all bright and cheerful. So, really lovely to be here. And I am delighted, excited to be hosting this talk and the guest of honor is our very own Reva, as she is known by everybody. Reva, it takes a little effort to even remember that you're actually called Revathi and that you were Revathi Venkataraman once upon a time.
Yeah, I know.
So, a very warm welcome to you, dear Revathi. And the last I remember of this person is when she was hurrying to catch the special back home. Reva and I shared the same class in Lady Shriram 1986 batch of English honors. And I remember Reva as this very quiet person in the class. And I think she's still retained that quiet elegance, the dignity that she had even back then. And while we would probably be heading off to the canteen, and then, some of us, of course, to the tute rooms, those dark dungeons, cold and bare. And Reva would be hurrying, scurrying out of the gate to catch the special back home. That's how I last remember. And then suddenly, there is Revathi Suresh, and there is something called jobless, clueless, reckless. So, Reva, when did that happen? How did that happen? Fill in the gaps. Fill in the gaps. Today's the best day. Tell us.
Mhm. Basically, college was for me quite an intimidating space. I had lived in small towns all my life. My father was in the army, and we moved around quite a lot. But most of it was from one small town to another, and a lot of it in UP actually. So Meerut and Bareilly and Lucknow and all kinds of they were nice, lovely towns, but not the kind of cosmopolitan place that Delhi was. So college was a very difficult space for me. And then of course the subject I chose itself, English. Everyone said that is the subject for you and that's where you belong. And so I said okay, and so it was English honors, except that I didn't quite fit in there also. I wasn't comfortable with academics, I wasn't comfortable with the large crowds, and I wasn't comfortable with the really smart girls. And so my whole thing in college was uh, to get out by that 110 lady special heading towards Dholakua every day. That was my goal in life from the first year to the third year. and that's how you'd have seen me scurrying out of the gate into one of those specials. I never attended a single class after the recess. Never. In all those 3 years of college, never attended a single class after recess. I would just like I said, my goal in life was to catch that special and head home to a safe space. So, yeah, that was my
Yes,
first.
I fondly remember in one of the tutes, Mrs. Ravindran gave that very puzzled, and she was such a quiet, gentle person. I don't know if any of you are here from English, you remember Mrs. Ravindran. And she looked around in that very lost professor way of hers, and she says, do we have somebody called Revati in this group? And we made all kinds of appropriate noises and pushed her back to the book of Job that she was supposed to deal with and said, get off Reva's back. Yeah, so now we know Reva.
Yeah.
So then, from then on to this person who says that she was not comfortable in crowds with people talking,
Right, right,
and I believe you went into journalism, into writing,
right.
all about communication. Such a paradox, Reva. What
Yes,
happened?
yes, yes. Which is why I kind of said searching for expression would be a good title for this session. So my whole thing in life is that I am very awkward in crowds, very unhappy in crowds, very introverted. I'm probably the most introverted person I know. So for me to get out there and be somebody social has always been a challenge. But the irony is that I found that the way I could best express myself was through writing, and which is really one of the most basic forms of communication. Like you talk and you write, and I somehow chose writing. And writing brings you out into the public in a way that that you're forced to kind of come out whether you like it or not, and try and talk about your work or to explain your work or to to kind of really interact with the reader and so it's yeah, it is a paradox that somebody like me who has no interest otherwise in meeting people or going out there and having a social life suddenly finds myself um, struggling to reach out to those very people that I need actually as an audience for my writing. So yeah, crazy times, but that's what it is. So I ended up in publishing purely by chance. That kind of it just, I don't know how it happened, but it happened. And that also, I don't know. I've done such weirdly bold things in my life. I think from a newspaper ad, I called up a number. Somebody was looking for an editor in their office. And so I called up the number, and this was after office hours. So I was calling the gentleman at home. And I said, I believe you're looking for an editor. And he said, yeah, come in for an interview tomorrow. And that's how I kind of found my job in publishing. But yeah, and
So
thereon
which job was this? What
uh,
editor? What is it?
so this was a small publishing house called East West Books in Madras, and this was in 1992, I think. So I called him up. I went for an interview that day, and it all kind of came together, and I joined the company, and I had a lovely time as an editor there. So I worked there for about 10 years and got to know books, how they are brought out. And between me and my colleague, we brought out like, I think, 10 books in a span of 10 years, because in those days, people didn't have big publishing lists. So if you brought out one book in a year, it was a huge thing. So, uh, and I found my love for words basically growing. And the fact that I could see so many books around me and so many people writing in so many different ways, all of it was really, really exciting, for somebody at that stage in my life. I kind of just discovered what I thought would be my career. And then, yeah, I think that was where I really, really realized that my interest was not in academic writing or in academics, but it was more in the creative side of writing. So that's how I got into this whole thing of books and writing and reading and all of that.
That's a very interesting narrative of, a voyage of self-discovery, if ever there was one. But I'm curious, as you went into these written expressions with your colleague, as you say, um, did you not feel the lack of some kind of a, training in writing? This was writing that was being published. So, or how did you even settle upon, okay, this is how I'm going to write, this is what I'm going to write? How did that come about?
So in the beginning, I was not a writer, right? I was an editor. I learned my editing on the job pretty much. There were probably a few courses even then, not to do with publishing, but definitely in journalism, you learn some amount of editing, but the actual editing in terms of editing a manuscript or editing even a review, we used to bring out a book review magazine, and we also parallelly brought out books. So all of that happened on the job, literally. Literally. So I had a really wonderful colleague who was a few years my senior, and she really was a fabulous mentor and a friend to me. So I learned by watching her. I learned by trying to kind of get a feel for what is good writing and what is not like good writing. So all of that, I mean, I'll have to say that she really tutored me in the early years. And then I had this instinct anyway for grammar, not because I'd kind of been a grammar Nazi in school or anything like that, but literally, playing it by the ear, what sounded right, what didn't, that you didn't take things for granted just because they sounded right. You could check a dictionary, all those things, like, so the thing for instinctively saying what I must be writing is right went out the window. There was always this thing for consulting, like, okay, you have, in those days, of course, there were books, now everything is online. And so you consulted whether it was spellings, whether it was different ways of spelling, whether it was ways of expression, all of that. So that kind of really, that the hard kind of this thing of editing, all of that I learned from her. So, and like I said, it was 10 years of such great fun. It was a super place to work in. We had a great boss, the gentleman I called at home. I mean, he was a lovely man. He's very well known in publishing, he's no longer there. But yes, that entity, East West Books, went on thereafter to be absorbed by Westland, and Westland, of course, is now owned by Amazon. So yeah, so that's where that company is right now.
And somewhere along these years of your search for expression and words, as you put it so beautifully, the shift, the move from Venkatraman to Suresh happened, and the little Sureshes came along, and I think all of that. So, what kind of an impact did that have on your search for words?
So initially, I kind of, I stopped working after the children came along. I kind of quit working. I tried to do some freelance work from home. But all of it petered out after a while because I wasn't pursuing anything in a very active kind of a way. And after the job really went, I again found myself at a loss for what I was supposed to do. How I was supposed to work that the office hours into some kind of a meaningful structure for me. When the kids were very small, of course, it was all of it was really hands-on work with the kids and that kind of thing. But kind of was lost and didn't have an idea of how or where that future might lie. And I continued to do some documenting for NGOs. I did some, stories for people who kind of commission stories. And so I did that. And then then I moved to Bangalore, and that was a time when I would very often see people saying, "Oh, I'm writing a book." So then that became a thing to me, like if everyone is writing a book, maybe I should write a book too. So that's how my first book happened, Jobless. And to be honest, I kind of wrote Jobless in that frame of mind, in that mood that, oh, if everyone is doing it, then I should do it too. That was like 7 years ago now. So yeah, and then Jobless, kind of after Jobless, I again said, okay, book likh liya. Now that is behind me. Now I must look for something else to do. But I didn't, of course. I mostly just sat around dealing with a writer's block, trying to kind of figure out what next would happen in my life. And then miraculously, the second book happened. And then I was like, oh, maybe I'm a writer after all. So it's still a lot of self-doubt there, but
No, no, lovely, lovely, lovely story, Suri. So, if we can just do a step back, your jobless happened, you said. Yeah, interesting that you just say it's happened as if like it just like an epiphany or something. But I feel that it was not quite an overnight thing. And how did Kavya happen? You know, when I read Jobless, it's I spend so much time with children.
Hmm.
It's really like this conversation is going all around me. It's a real thing that's happening all around me. So Kavya, who is Kavya?
So, Kavya was basically a whole bunch of kids I saw around me outside school gates, outside, and the general, like what I'd like to call drama of teenage without trying to make, how do you say, a joke out of it. So it was the fact that teenage seemed to be very intensely being played out around me. And so I kind of picked up on that, created Kavya out of the very many voices that I kind of heard. And she's, of course, 15 or 16 or whatever. And then, of course, I chose to kind of build a certain scenario for her. And, that's how it happened. But like I said, I wrote Jobless quite lightheartedly, and in a it was more my discovery of myself. You see, it wasn't about the characters in the book as much as it was about my discovery of myself as what I could do, and apparently I could write a book. So and that was the exciting thing for me, that so all of Jobless is in one sense tongue in cheek. I'm laughing at myself, not the characters in there, but at myself. So yeah.
Yeah, I also want to know your take on. I don't know how many of our friends here have maybe read a few pages or maybe the whole book, but I'm this one of those old English teachers, right? And I was wondering, even when I read it and had a lot of children reading it, that did you ever face any comments where you were told that as a writer you need to be more responsible and some of the vocabulary you're using or you're giving to Kavya or is not quite the thing to do? I mean, anything like that? Any of those experiences?
Sometimes, not all the time. For example, that kind of reaction never came from teachers. Teachers were the most open because they kind of see children for what they are. Parents would resist, yes, once in a while. And strangely, though this is YA, in you find in our country that parents pick and choose the books for their children till they are, they are very young, and as they grow older they seem to want to retain that control, whereas you should really allow your children to pick out the books they want to read. But they seem to want to retain that control. They have a sense of morality which is a little hard to understand sometimes, but it happens. Yes, parents resist it, teachers don't. The idea of a difficult family, or the idea of swearing, or the idea of topics that they don't think you should really talk about with children, like sex or intimacy. The thing that we fail to realize is that actually children that age know far, far more than we do. They are far better informed and very intelligently informed on all those topics. So I couldn't really go past that barrier of parents and the kind of closed kind of fortress like this thing I would face somewhere. But definitely in schools and teachers, all of them. I don't think I had, other than one school which said, "Oh my God, language." I didn't have any school that objected because of. But schools faced resistance from parents who'd say, "Do not introduce books that have these kind of, you know." So sure, that's
Yeah, that's interesting to think about if from the perspective of a writer, as in like, do you just give in to what is coming to you, or do you keep in mind? So then, like jumping fast forward to In Now and Then, where Kavya makes an appearance again. Did any of these considerations stay with you, or did you just let it flow?
so you can't allow it to stay with you. Then you can't write naturally. No, you can't write keeping an audience in mind. A book happens very much on its own. It takes its own form and shape. You don't dictate it beyond a point. So you have to remember that you have characters from the first book, and you have to remain true to those characters in the sense of the sketch that you've created of them. So they can't suddenly dramatically change and become all sanitized because you learned your lesson in the first book, so let me write a second book which is more acceptable. No. So I just kind of let it flow in the way that it came naturally. And I think that's how In Now and Then. The big difference between Jobless and In Now and Then is, like I said, Jobless, I wrote tongue in cheek. I was laughing at myself. I was having a ball. Ki, tu book likhegi. Okay, let's see. Haan, likhana kind of thing. But in Now and Then, I actually sat down and very seriously worked on that book. And I am very happy with the shape that it took and the way it turned out. And it is, between the two books, probably the most serious book in my intent as well as in the content. So
Yeah. So I'm of course personally really proud of you that In Now and Then is out there now, and I happen to know that apart from the shift or the move or the journey that Kavya is making, it also has a very personal thread for you,
yes.
the writing. So we would all, I think, probably really be much enriched if you could share that with us.
Yeah, so I wrote the book quite, I think, in the space of a few months. Once I figured where and how I could, I struggled a little bit with what age Kavya should be in the book. Not because I was looking for an audience, ki ye YA mein fit hoga, ki adult mein fit hoga. That wasn't my, it was like, which age would Kavya have to be at for the book to flow naturally from the first book. So I struggled a little bit with that. Once I kind of figured that out and the writing started happening in a very natural way, I wrote the book between 2017 and 18. And thereafter there were drafts. I won't say that there's a dramatic change in the draft from what I wrote as the first one to what you see in the, there were tweaks made, and there were bits I tightened, and there were bits I put took out, but it's not dramatically different from the draft I wrote. So it's pretty much what I wrote in that first instance that you get to read now. But in the interim, in 2019, my father fell sick, and then my mother needed surgery, and then as I was kind of trying to go through the process of trying to get the book published. So I also struggled to get the book published because publishers didn't see it as YA. But they didn't quite figure out why they should do the sequel of a book that existed with another publisher. So, so Duckbill didn't take it because they said it wasn't YA. And in the event, it turned out that Duckbill itself was going through a transition, and they were, Duckbill was dissolving, and they were going to be absorbed by Penguin Random House.
Yes.
This is where the book is right now. So Jobless is with Penguin, and so that transition was happening for them, but they couldn't see this book as YA. Maybe they burnt their fingers with Jobless a little bit, because while they were very excited about the book, we did struggle because of the barriers I talked to you about to try and reach our audiences. You see, for every writer, if you're doing YA, your biggest audiences are in schools. And I simply struggle to find enough invites from schools or even from book fests because of this thing of language, topics that parents felt we shouldn't talk about with young children. So I couldn't give the book that kind of exposure. So maybe the fact that Duckbill was so excited but couldn't do the couldn't maybe reach those audiences that we'd really wanted to, made them feel like, no, this is not a risk we want to take on. But whatever the reasons, they said no. When they said no, pretty much all doors shut for me, because I was going from publisher to publisher, and all of them were like, why would we publish the sequel to a book that's with somebody else? And all of them uniformly loved the book, by the way. The manuscript itself faced no criticism. They loved the manuscript, but they were like, how do we stand here? How come we are publishing a sequel and the other book is someone else? And so I was kind of stuck. And yeah, I mean, and then
Your mother was,
I found
your ma was in hospital.
yes, I found my publisher, but by then both my parents were really sick, and then they passed away soon, one after the other. And I and the thing is that for both of them, they really wanted this book out, but because they were so sick, I wasn't able to devote enough time to sitting with the book and trying to go through proofs and trying to go through last minute the kind of fixes you need to make in the book. And before I could do that, both of them passed away. So uh, it's a very emotional thing for me, the book.
Yeah, so that's what I am sure every one of us here who's present here listening to you, Reva, and this chat when it goes across to those who could not make it today. I think for all of us, it's one of the best things that it has come out. And the promise that you would have made to Mama uh, has been realized. It's seen the light of day. I have it on my Kindle, and I've been enjoying Kavya second time. So what on from here, Reva? Any
Uh,
fixed ideas of
the thing is that
what you want to do?
I keep writing. I do have a few children's books manuscripts with me, but right now times are so difficult. It's hard to kind of bring out a book because markets and shops are closed, and most, for book sales you need for the author to be able to go to places, to talk to people, to tell them about the book, and all those avenues are closed. So it's really hard. I think it's a difficult time to bring out books. I think most publishers are struggling this year. And also books are not really selling. Yeah, what should be otherwise a natural kind of thing for people to buy and read books. So it's really hard. So what am I going to do with those manuscripts? I don't know, but I have those manuscripts, and I'm kind of sitting and yeah, meanwhile, I try to review books. I try to do other writing for myself. I mean, my computer is full of little bits of writing that I do for myself, and little drafts of this and that. And yeah, I keep myself going that way. Also, I mean, work at home keeps me busy. So yeah, that's what's happening right now.
It's really, even as you're saying it, it's making me think that, we go to a bookshop or to a library and we see those who love books, we see these books, the writers' names we pick up. And at that point of time, we have no idea of what's going on in the writer's life. And
No.
what kind of a paradox is this? Parents around the world saying children should read, children should read, children should read.
Yeah.
And the struggles. I mean, you're not the first writer that I've spoken to, children's writers, especially, let's say children's young adults. I have no idea where this thing is going to get resolved. I mean,
No, we
writers are writing.
Yeah, Champa,
Yeah.
the thing is to think that one is that you write. The second is that there's a huge YA market out there. You get foreign books very easily now, imported books, whether via Kindle or a bookstore or whatever. So when kids grow old enough to make up their own minds, they are attracted towards those books that, they can see are on the bestseller lists abroad. But you have books here that are also relevant for them and are about their lives and should be interesting to them and will be interesting to them if they're given the opportunity to pick it up. But
Hmm.
marketing is a very difficult thing. Marketing YA here is a very difficult thing. And two, like I said, if one puts up barriers and has fears of oh, if this book says something, then my kids are going to go ahead and do that kind of which parents seem to have. Strangely, I'm not quite sure why, but they're very wary of having allowing the children to read about foreign बच्चे कुछ भी करते होंगे हमारे बच्चे ये नहीं करते हैं kind of so it's like that. So I don't know why it is there, but it is there. The second thing is, of course, writing doesn't pay. So you sit
Hmm.
and you labor and you slave for 3 years, and you're writing it purely for yourself, at one level. It doesn't pay. It is work, but it doesn't pay. So
Yes.
where then do you go to be, where that labor, how is it going to be compensated in any way, So all you can do is you keep telling people, oh, buy it, read it, because if you buy it, I get paid. So it's, it's really a terrible sort of a place for any writer to be, I think.
Yes, I'm sure. So, I mean, but there is something in it, right, Reva, that keeps you going, that keeps you wanting to
Course.
write
I mean, you
more.
write despite yourself. You don't write because you have to go out there and make money out of it. You write because it's in you and something wants to come out, and that's a, like I said, it's a very basic form of communication, isn't it? You either talk or you write. Two most basic. I'm not able to talk very well, but I'm able to write. So that's what I think. I will just continue to write little scraps of whatever for myself or otherwise, and hope that things change and my children's books get a chance to find their way out too.
Absolutely. All our hopes and wishes are with you. And I, for one, am going to keep waiting for them to see the light of day and grab them the moment they're out, because there's such a lot of honest expression in the few lines that I've read that you've written. I call them few lines because, well, it's not like tomes and tomes. So I will be waiting for more to come my way from your pen. And okay, just a very silly question here. Is it the pen or is it the typewriter? Or I mean, not the typewriter. Sorry. I revealed my age here. Ah.
Everything's on the computer, Champa. I can't write with my hand. I can't do anything much with my hand. They're kind of frozen because of lack of use. I never really write anything. I struggle to sign. So yeah, everything is on the computer. Everything is typed up.
Ah. I'm so glad I'm not one. I do that one finger typing. It would take me 10 years to write one 50-page novel or something. Ha, ha, ha. So great, Reva. It's been quite a journey. I guess it always is when looks behind the scenes. There is something. The performance is one thing, and all the preparation behind the scenes is one, a different thing altogether. And so much to know about you. So nice. I wonder if anybody here has anything different to ask of Reva, would want to. Yes, I see Aarti raising her hand. Please come along, Aarti.
Hi, Revathi. I just wanted to ask you one thing. So you were talking about finding it difficult to publish, for example, your works on the publishing house during these times. Uh, I am totally unaware of how the thing functions, so just more out of curiosity. What if is there some method by which you can do it directly onto a Kindle, for example, without having to wait to go through a publishing house or something like that, or is that the
You
procedure?
can self-publish, of course. I mean, you can self-publish. Right now, my book is on Kindle only. It's not available in paperback. It's on Kindle because
Okay.
times are bad right now, and it made no sense to for my publishers to at this point invest in a huge sum of money. Everything is gone up. Paper cost has gone up. Marketing avenues are choked. So it made no sense to do that. So the book is available only on Kindle right now. And
But isn't it easier to also then therefore market it through the Kindle
So
app or through
that's not
that or
very easy either, right? So the first thing you do is you reach out to the groups that you know. So first, the first reach out is to people you know, and you say, okay,
correct?
here's my book. Please buy the book. I'm just talking about Kindle. So
Yes.
so the thing is that because it's an electronic book, and I can't actually hand out a hard copy to you and say, can you buy this book? And people are bound to tell you, sure, I'll buy it. And then it goes out the window, right? So there is
Mm,
intention to buy, but it doesn't really happen. So I
okay.
can keep marketing the book via Kindle. I can keep saying, see, so the thing is, do you keep endlessly pumping money without returns? So do I keep sponsoring on Kindle
Okay.
and not get any returns? So it's all really kind of the whole thing is quite a tricky and difficult thing to comprehend. So
Okay.
we are kind of trying to figure out. So like I said, I can tell you, Aarti, I have a book out. It's on Kindle. Please buy it and read it.
I am going to. I'm absolutely going to.
Yeah.
In
So
fact, I saw
you
it in the morning and I was just a little tied up, so I didn't land up actually downloading it. But I'm just waiting to get off this call and I'm going
that's
to
really
download your
lovely
books
of
and
you. So
read.
the thing is to say, yes, I will buy your book, and then something else comes over, takes over your mind at that point in time, and then you say, हाँ लेना है ना लेंगे कभी लेंगे 2 महीने बाद
Wow.
लेंगे. But see, the thing is, for me, in terms of what I might get paid for what I wrote, every single sale counts on Kindle. Every single sale counts.
Okay.
So if you, it's for example,
Okay.
it's free on Kindle Unlimited. But say you borrow it on Kindle Unlimited and you don't read it, then I don't get paid for it. So it's like that.
Oh,
Yes.
okay.
So if you borrow it and
Okay,
read it
okay, okay.
unreturned, or if you read 3 pages and then you say, Chalo,
Hmm.
I've kept my commitment. I told Revathi I'll get it. I've got it and I didn't read it. We don't get paid for it. Neither the publisher nor I gets paid for it. So the
Is it? Oh, I was not aware.
unlimited is a library.
Okay, I am of course not on unlimited. No, but if you're buying the book and reading it,
If you have
then
the book, of course,
the
that's
author gets paid.
yes, 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 absolutely.
Okay, because I'm not on unlimited, but I didn't even know that something like this
Yeah, yeah. So which is why
exists,
I
you know,
keep
that.
badgering you all. Buy the
Okay.
book, read it. Buy the book, read it. Whenever I can, I'm able, and I'm able to. I'm out there saying, okay, here's the book, read it. Because that's about all I can do. And the reviews are great. People have loved it. So I can't think of any other way myself to plug it because, like I said, I'm not a gregarious person. I'm not networked. I don't go out there and put myself in front of people. I tend to kind of clam up. I'm not comfortable. So I'll tell you twice, I'll tell you thrice. If you don't do it, I will say, okay, I should shut up because people are not interested here. I should move on. So that is the way, and I don't know how to be any other way. So yeah, it's
But I'm definitely going to read your book.
thank you.
I
I
am a
also
voracious
promise
reader.
that I'm going to try and read it, and I'm going to make an effort after all this to hear from where and how and the journey. I apologize for not reading it before, but the fact that I will pick it up and
Yeah,
make an effort.
absolutely. All of you, yeah,
Yeah.
download it and read it because your that
Yes.
200 rupees ka jo aapka jo input hoga, that will go towards paying me and my publisher.
Yeah.
So that is how you think of it. It is, and you're not going to get crap at the end of it. It's a damn great book. I'm telling you myself.
I'm sure. I'm sure. It's interesting listening to you, so I'm sure the book is
Right.
awesome
You're
too.
talking of young people, you're talking of mental health, you're talking of
Yeah.
sexuality, you're talking of gender, you're talking
Yeah.
of sex. All of that is there in the book. It's all there in the book. So, one way is to educate yourself, definitely by talking to mental health specialists. Another way is to educate yourself by seeing the journeys of these young people in real life and how that works out for them and what
Yeah.
happens in their minds, what goes through their minds. And we all have children that age, right? We all have children
True.
in their late teens and 20s who we all feel separated from, who we are not able to really talk with or get an insight into their minds. So it becomes a huge thing. I remember actually Neelu telling me in the very early days about Funky Rainbow. Neelu,
Yeah.
funny
Yeah.
story, because
Yeah.
ultimately I got published by 1 inch margin, which is one half of Funky Rainbow. So
Okay.
it's Sham. I don't know if you know Sham.
I
Yes,
know Sham. I know all of them. Vidya, Sham, and Muthu is my neighbor, so
yes.
I'm very
Ah,
close to Muthu.
Correct. So Sham and his colleague Anam are behind 1 inch margin, and
Okay.
where everybody else turned me down, they kind of put their hand up and said, "No, we'll do this." And that takes
Yeah.
a lot of guts and courage, and
Yeah.
to be really small, to be coming out
Yeah.
of nowhere, to
Yeah.
have a belief in a manuscript and
Yeah.
say, "No, we like this and we'll do it." So
Yeah.
that's how that happened miraculously, very suddenly, out of nowhere. So
Yeah.
I'm really indebted to Sham and Anam and 1 inch for doing.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we are very small. I mean, 1 inch is very small, and I'm this lone voice who keeps every now and then piping up on the group saying, "Read my book, read my book, read my book." So, yeah. So that's the
Maybe
I
story.
think
maybe it's a nice idea to when I'm hearing you and I have to read it, I'll be honest, I will take it up and read it. But the fact that it's connected with the mental health, and you can put it up maybe once more on for us to share and read, and one of us can write it there. But more importantly, how it's linked up now. Somebody needs to do a review, and maybe Revathi, you may have to just step out of your comfort zone and just hard sell your book.
more about it.
Yeah,
I think Madhulika has something to ask or say. Madhu, do I see a message from you?
Yeah. So Revathi, great to be here for your second book. I remember the one we had 7 years back, you say. Well,
yes,
we do remember that very well. And I have a copy of the book
yes,
also.
yes.
Yes. I just wanted to check with you now. I have Kindle Unlimited. And I wanted to check, if I buy a Kindle version or if I read it on the Kindle, where do you get a better return?
So if you buy it outright, it's $200. It's not a huge amount of money. That's where my best returns are.
Okay.
So if you, I would tell all of you to buy it and not do the unlimited option, because like I said, unlimited, if you borrow it, unlimited is like a library, right? You borrow
Yeah.
it, and then if you don't read it in that space for 1 month, I lose out on.
No, if I read it.
If you read it and it traces, see what unlimited apparently does is it sees the number of pages you've read. Then
Yeah.
we get paid. So
Fully?
if you read it fully, we get paid in that duration of time, like say 15 days or 1 month or whatever.
But equal to 200 or no?
I think so. I'm not very aware of the marketing part of it, because Sham and Anam at 1inch would know better.
Okay.
But I think our advice to people is always to buy the book, and you won't regret it. I mean, like I said, it's a damn good book, Madhulika. I'm very proud of it.
No, I'm sure, because the first one.
Get out of your comfort zone. तो मैं बोल रही हूँ आपको. It's a fantastic book. आप पढ़ो उसको.
I bought 3 copies of the first one and I gifted it. So, you know.
So iska, see, you can't gift. I think there is a way to gift on Kindle through Amazon Pay. So if you want, you can still gift. But I'm saying it's not the kind of book you'll want to borrow and return. I think it's the kind of book you'll want to keep.
Sure.
So, like I said, it touches upon a number of topics that we have been talking about over these Zoom meetings, or we have people here who are specialists in different areas. It touches upon those topics, you know, of gender, sexuality, sex, family, communication, all of that. So I think it's important for those of us who have children in our lives or who work with children, to kind of read that book. I don't think you'll find that you'll regret it at all.
Sandhya's already selling it on the chat.
And Sandhya,
Shafige has already bought it. So.
yeah, people are buying it. Oh my God. Sandhya, you had to say something also, or ask something.
Well,
Yes.
my question, Revathi, was that in this latest book, you use it like the same protagonist comes back, right? Kavya comes back.
Yes.
So, you know, and a lot of what you're saying about writing is resonating with me as a filmmaker, where you get money up front and then after that there's no money. So like you said, it's a lot of hard work and there's no money.
Right.
But I think the book's fate is actually really, really much harder.
Yes.
That's one aspect, comment. But as a question, I was wondering that at what point did you decide to continue using her as a protagonist and come up with maybe it would be a series of books, but what made you decide on that?
Yeah, that's actually such a great question. So the thing is that when I wrote my first book, many people who read it said, "Acha, to iska sequel kab aayega?" And I was like, "What sequel?" I wrote something for fun. I've written my thing and I've shoved it off, and it's now with you all. Abhi kya sequel? मैं भूल गई हूँ काव्या वगैरह के बारे में. I don't want to do it. But I could see as they started asking, they had so many unanswered questions because of that first book. And I felt that I needed to continue that story for myself as well as them. So at some point, the audience disappeared. You see, for myself, I needed answers. So the first book touches upon characters, themes, a certain plot, and all of that. But literally, it just touches upon. So my thing was, who are these people in Kavya's lives that we never get to know enough about? Her mother, her father, the boy she likes, her brother, her aunt and uncle. Who are these people? Wo kuch bol rahi hai, and she talks about them and we drop them and we go away at the end of the book. How can that be fair? So when I came back to the second book, it was with the determination that I wanted to discover those characters for myself. So who are they? And that's how Kavya came back, because I needed her to be able to discover who.
And she's grown up between the two books.
So in the first book she's 16, and in the second she's between 17 and 20.
Don't tell.
Only that much I wanted to know. Okay, yeah. No, it makes me want to read much more. Yeah.
In the second book she's between 17 and 20. People ask me, is this YA? I don't know what it is. Definitely it's YA because the protagonist is young. But the people around her are all older, you see. The people around her are her parents, her aunt and uncle, her younger brother. She's got, there are her friends. So the people around her are both people who are adults, older than her, as well as adults who are.
But that's how life is, yeah.
पढ़ने दे उनको पढ़ने दे.
No, I'm talking about.
Shafige has a question.
Shafige has a question.
So 2 is just the start of it, I'm hoping.
Yes.
I mean, if she's only 23, there's a lot of years yet in that girl.
No, I'm kind of done with her. I'm done with her
Array.
life because
Killing her off. No, no, no. Wait.
no, I feel her life kind of, has reached a good kind of a conclusion.
Point.
So I don't really want to take this story further. But like I said, I have other books and other projects that I keep working on. What might actually turn into a book that's ready for publishing is another thing. That's up in the air. But this book kind of finally kind of rammed, straight into my own head in the first place. That yes, you write and how you should describe yourself. You see, until now, when people ask me before in now and then, when people asked me who you are, I would say I'm a homemaker. But now I feel I can legitimately go out there and tell people I'm a writer because I'm that proud of my I was proud of Jobless, not that I wasn't, but now with this book I really feel that okay, you can do this if you set your mind to it. You can actually go out there and write, and if not something that's going to be published, but at least be able to tell people legitimately that you're a writer. So,
But Revathi, what about, actually doing something maybe like a blog, or maybe that's the wrong word, but you remember when we was younger, we used to have these every week, you'd wait for Modesty Blaze. So you had a couple of lines of a story, and then you'll be waiting for the next week for it to come. So maybe something like on those lines, which keeps
यार
you.
आप लोग मुझे Instagram में follow करो. If you're on Instagram, I'm on
Oh, I'm
Instagram.
not, but my son is. I should do that. Okay. Are you on
So
Instagram?
I'm on Instagram. So at Reva_Suresh. So if you want to follow me there, you follow me. I keep doing
Okay.
things
So
about
that
the
gives
book
me a
there.
reason to join in.
I keep doing all kinds of things about the book there. So that is a place to be. I find Facebook a little hard in the sense that I'm not able to balance Instagram and Facebook. And I find Instagram requires less of my attention, probably because it's on my phone, and Facebook I have to open my computer.
Okay.
So yeah, that's the thing. So all this thing that you're asking for is there on Instagram. Anything about it now and then, all the happening stuff is all there.
No, I'm saying as a story thing, even if you don't want to write a complete book, maybe. One of these kind of where it continues and we keep on hooking onto it every few days to see what
Show
happened
the
next.
bikini for more.
अभी मतलब कह रही हैं कि फिर मतलब फ्री में आप लिखते रहो, हम पढ़ते
नहीं
रहेंगे.
नहीं वैसे नहीं I don't know whether this how it works for this thing, but for example, YouTube has this thing, no, after a certain number of subscribers or something, you can actually earn something.
हाँ.
So something like that. I don't know the
यार हमें
intricacies of all this.
मार्केटिंग वाले स्मार्ट्स होते तो हम क्यों ऐसे मतलब why would we be scraping this thing like this? So like I said, I keep repeatedly approaching groups that I know, that I'm aware of, to say here's my book, please read it. So I'm on Instagram. If you guys are there, I'm not able to find you all because I don't know your Insta handles, but if you're there, if you follow me, I'll follow you back, and that way I'll be able to be more connected with you guys. But it would be it would be great if you all bought and read the book.
Of course. No, I'm only looking at ways where you can continue, not just. So going back to what Shafiq is saying, so the story doesn't end with those two books.
Yeah, the story doesn't end.
Look, what happened with Jobless was that I decided it had ended. Abhi in now and then मैं कह रही हूँ पक्का ended. Abhi 2 साल बाद who knows what, right? So for now it has ended. Indefinitely.
I have a feeling if she's only 25, you know what these 25-year-olds are like. She's not gonna let you go that easily.
They have to reach out.
Wait, now she's giving you a break.
रेवा प्लीज चैट पे अपना इंस्टा हैंडल वो कर दो so that it's there for everyone to see. And I'm
she has to reach our age also, no?
Break this up kind of, but surely but slowly we have crept towards the designated curtain call time, and we will have to formally wind this up very soon. So Reva, that was one wonderful chat.
Ek minute, Champa.
Thank you so much.
Anjana,
thank you so much. Somebody saying something?
Anjana had said, how about doing a writing course for ELSAs? I mean, that could be fun. So we can try and take that kind of forward.
Yeah, I see that in the chat. Yes. Yeah, okay. That gives us
more food. Revathi, how about something to do with animals? The love you have and the way you're looking after Mowgli, I've been hearing and seeing.
There there is an animal in now and then. We'll say.
There is.
Yes. Yes. So I feel really difficult. I mean, I find it really difficult writing just exclusively about animals. But like I said, the writing process is ongoing.
It's all inclusive. Yeah.
Yeah, it's ongoing.
But I have seen a side of you with even canceling the session. And hats off to you. And I absolutely the respect and love and for doing it for a member which is so special for you. I think it gave me a different side of you, Revathi, and a big hug. And by the way, Champa and Revathi Vandana are my 1986 batch. We are in the same batch.
Yes, we are the 86 gals. Yeah. And okay, before anything, Tanya, could you please come on board and make the announcement for the next Connect session? You're switched off. Your mic switched off, Tanya.
It's gone off again.
No, Tanya, you'll have.
I'm audible now. All right.
Yes.
Thank you, Champa and Revathi. This was a lovely session. Thank you so much. I have your book also. So I've gone through it, and right now I need to tell you all about the next session, which is on Saturday, and this is with Pinky Anand, the India's former Additional Solicitor General. And at this time, when the word justice is on everybody's minds and everybody's lips, ELSAConnect is very happy to announce its next guest, which is Pinky Anand. She was the first woman secretary of DUSU of Delhi Student University and students group, and she's an INLAC scholar, a Harvard Law School graduate, a doctorate of law, and a social activist. And Pinky leads from the front. Of course, we can see that. She has represented India in several international forums, including BRICS, and she's a trustee of the Partition Museum and has authored books, including Trials of Truth, which is published by Penguin. This session will be curated by Madhu Khatri, and you need to register for it. The link is there in the poster. Please do register for it in advance and follow the link that comes to your mail after that. Thank you so much. Back to you, Champa.
Thanks, Tanya. That comes across. It's going to be a heavy session, I'm sure, but I'm sure much needed. There'll be so much that will come from that session to all of us. So time to formally say goodbye. We have to close formally. Note my emphasis on the word formally. So goodbye, everybody, formally. And we meet again, or we just sit around and chat some more. So see you again soon on ELSAConnect, everyone. Let's keep connecting like this. Glad to be with all of you. Reva, way to go. Labor of love. Keep doing it.
Thanks so much.